Okay, hello, good morning. This is Tony Paradell speaking from Worldline. I am delighted to give this webinar today about the TruBlo project and the first open call that we have just launched. This is the agenda for today. We are going to have several speeches from the partners of the consortium, in which we will be explaining the basis of the project and how you can apply to this open call. TruBlo, as you probably already know, is a project which is funded by the European Commission, in which we intend to get applications on trusted and reliable content on the future of blockchains. The project already started in September. It's a 3 years project. The project is composed by a consortium with 6 partners. Worldline is the coordinator, and we have ICCS as expert in academic on the blockchain technology. Then we have ATC, which are experts in technologies to fight against fake news. Deutsche Welle, which is our German international public service broadcaster. Then we have F6S, which is, they have built a very important startup and SME community, and they are in charge of the management of the open calls. And then we have Alastria as a blockchain infrastructure provider. And what it is important for you is that in this project, we are going to launch 3 open calls. We are now talking about the first one, but in case that you have any problem and you cannot apply to this one, you will have more opportunities in the following open calls. Now the session is going to be moderated by Mirko from Deutsche Welle. So Mirko, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Tony, and welcome everyone. I see that we have more than 30 people in the channel, which is great. Welcome to this adventure. Cascade funding from the EU is a new instrument, meaning that this relatively small consortium is now preparing to work with people like you to develop new ideas. And just for housekeeping, we are using GoToWebinar, as you know. And just that you have an overview, can you go one back, please, Tony? What I wanted to say is we will be recording this session, but your data will not be shown. The way to participate here is you can ask questions in this lower area under Gonzalo Cordal. Sorry that this is in German, but you will see it in your language. So please ask questions, even when people are speaking. And after each talk, we will be looking into whether the question needs to be answered right away or will be shifted to the Q&A session. I guess if something is urgent or has not been understood, we answer it right away. Otherwise, we are open for a discussion with all of you at the end after all the talks. As said, we're going to record that. We want to publish the video or parts of the video for further use. As Tony said, this is the first of 3 open calls. But that's basically it. So we can move on now to the first speaker or to the overview. And before we go into it, we'll be in a minute. I just give you a quick overview. Antonis from NTUA will provide an overview about what TruBlo is about, what is the background. Then Violeta from F6S is the expert in our team for the application process because we are doing it with the F6S platform. And Violeta has the most experience because F6S is currently involved in a number of these calls. So she's the go-to person, even for us, to answer question of how is this done, can I apply with this structure, and so on and so on. Then we have Montse and Carlos from Alastria. From my point of view, Alastria is a unicorn or kind of a unicorn in the European tech area because to me, they are like AWS for blockchain. They provide infrastructure for companies and can be of great utilization and help for anybody who doesn't want to bother about all the setup, all the monitoring, and so on and so on. And they're going to talk about that because our participants in TruBlo will have technical support from Alastria. It's to make it clear, you don't have to use Alastria, but you can, and that is the key point here. Then Anna from ATC, from Essence, will talk about our technical business and support service. This is more like how to shape your idea to make it a business-wise and sustainable idea. That's it. Then the Q&A session. I just wanted to provide an overview for perspective of what we're going to cover. And now it's over to Antonis from NTUA. Antonis, please.
Thank you very much, Mirko. So good morning to everyone from myself. I'm Antonis Litke from the National Technical University of Athens, and we're going to have now a presentation on the different objectives and challenges of the TruBlo project. So next slide, please. The main vision of the project. So we are all familiar with the fact that social networks grow, and social networks are a source of sharing information in ways that are more functional about how this information is being disseminated. So such networks rely more on the different technological assisted means to ensure trust, because it's very important to be sure that the medium and the disseminating information that is being shared is trustworthy. Blockchain, at the same time, is a technology that can contribute to this next generation internet, and especially as far as it concerns what we call distributed trust. So all in all, the main vision of the TruBlo project is actually to nurture and facilitate beyond the state-of-the-art research on blockchain technology that can actually lead to more scalable blockchain-based solutions that are, and applications, of course, that are going to contribute in increasing the trustworthiness and the reliability of the content in social networks and media. Next slide. So as far as it concerns the particular objectives of the TruBlo project, so behind facilitating this breakthrough research results on blockchain technologies in the area of social networks and media is to implement a series of 3 open calls, acting as a cascading funding in terms of supporting different research teams to produce scientifically excellent results, research and innovate on blockchain technologies and applications. More than that, the project has an added value through consolidating the research results that different teams, research teams, entrepreneurs, innovators are going to produce. So actually perform as well an added value in this life cycle of the research results. At the same time, as already said, TruBlo is going to provide also a set of supporting services and infrastructures that will help those researchers, those teams, to actually innovate. More than that, what we plan to do also through the different actions we have is to create this ecosystem of different stakeholders, not only researchers and innovators, but also stakeholders from the industry, from the media industry, that they can actually form together a value chain and provide also the different requirements that are needed for the innovators. And last but not least, TruBlo is going also to push and try to facilitate different business models that can be derived through the different proposals that are going to be used and facilitated through the different open calls that we are going to have. Next slide, please. So TruBlo is structured in such a way that it has 2 challenges. The first one, challenge 1, which is going to be a set of topics for the open call, has to do with trust and reputation on blockchain. So here the scope is actually to invite innovative applications and technologies that actually will contribute in increasing the levels of trust in blockchain-based information exchange. The emphasis is not only on the user-generated content on the internet and social media, but also on data that are being captured through Internet of Things infrastructures, through smart objects, smart devices, because we know that these smart objects, these Internet of Things infrastructures and environments can form also a source of data streams that can be of high value. Next slide. The challenge here, I mean, we provide some indicative call topics, but they are not, let's say, limiting any other effort, have to do, for instance, with engineering new levels of trust from the device to the application, closing this loop. Topics that have to do with reputation measuring and assessment, based, for instance, on history of transactions as these are being recorded on blockchains, or at the same time, flexible, easy to use and understand reputation models that can be applied on different blockchain applications and can, through blockchain, increase the reputation mechanisms that content and humans can have in this loop. Solutions, for instance, that can be applied here is how we can monetize premium user-generated content, how we can apply GDPR-compliant, privacy-enhanced mechanisms on blockchains, or, for instance, especially if we have to share value over blockchain, how we can apply different know-your-customer approaches on blockchains that are also relying on strong identity management mechanisms as they are needed, as we can see it also recently on the different research topics that we are experiencing. Next slide, please. The second challenge focuses on proof of location and proof of validity mechanisms. And we are going to explain a little bit more here what we mean with that. Here, the scope is actually that as users are being part of a blockchain, they can apply also additional verification mechanisms, what we call human in the loop, through which mechanisms we can increase transparency, validity, and high level of trustworthiness of the user-generated content. Here, the data focus is mainly on content that is captured from users' mobile devices. And as we can see that nowadays it can form a very significant portion of the content that is being shared on social media. Next slide, please. Some indicative call topics or solution focus, if you prefer, here have to do with the different verification mechanisms and what we call proof of location and proof of validity mechanisms that research teams are invited to provide solutions. For instance, proof of location, as we define it, as we can see it also in the different scientific literature, has to do with the different intrinsic parameters that mobile devices can provide, like, for instance, current location of the device when posting a specific article on social media. So this kind of information, how we can have this information on blockchain, how we can have this information increase the transparency and trustworthiness of the content are of high importance, and we would like to further research on those topics and extend the specific scientific literature that is there. More than that, for instance, proof of validity mechanisms focus mainly on what we call human in the loop, human contributed mechanisms of validating content, on validating, for instance, different events that are being captured. There we have also the human intelligence and capabilities in the loop, where, for instance, in a similar way as modern CAPTCHA works, where a human actually can contribute through his view, through his intelligence on verifying specific aspects within a picture, for instance, or within an audio file or media file, whatever. Next slide, please. We are going to and as you are going to get more familiar with the TruBlo project, you're going to see that the consortium brings already specific services to support and facilitate the research teams. Just to mention some of the projects where the partners are already participating, or projects that have already matured and have provided results, like, for instance, Blumen, where there we had further investigated and researched different ways to manage media copyright information, or different micropayments on media content, or for transparency in copyright management and monetization, know your customer policies that have been applied on blockchains and have provided significant results that can act as a best practices, or if you prefer, as a starting point for the research teams that they would like to further research on them and work on them and provide results, or other initiatives like SOMA, Coordination and Support Action, which aims to provide the European community with mechanisms for fight disinformation, or We Verify, another technology platform which brings what we said, the intelligence of the human in the loop in verifying media items, and perhaps contribute in the disinformation analysis so that the disinformation can be stopped in such way through this human intelligence. So many more things on that are going to be explained by my colleagues later on, but it's a very good point that the project provides this kind of services and best practices and knowledge from the different other projects, and can be of high importance, and of course assisting the different research teams that are going to participate in these open calls. Next slide, please. So accustom yourself, get familiarized with the TruBlo site, where you can find a lot of information about different aspects of the open call topics. The next closing date of the first open call is on March 19th. And of course, more on that is going to be explained by my colleague Violeta in the next session. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Antonis. I monitored whether there were immediate questions, but I think so far it's just a description of where it's heading. We can discuss later what it actually means in terms of to what extent would a solution need to be complete? Can it be just a detail? Can it be a technical approach? Can it be an algorithm? Should it shoot for market fit in a certain audience or industry, and so on? This is something that is really important to discuss and refine. But for now, we go more deeper into the details of how to actually apply, and that is the field of Violeta Vasileva from F6S. Violeta,
Thank
please.
you very much.
Thank you very much, Mirko. Good morning, everyone. So I will present you how to actually apply and what you should be expecting from this program. So next slide, please. Basically, the open call was launched in January, and the deadline to apply, as Antonis said, is 19th of March, 5 o'clock Central European Time. The total budget available for this open call is 950,000 euros. The open call is available to developers, innovators, researchers, SMEs, and entrepreneurs actively involved in research, development, and application activities in the fields of blockchain and blockchain-related technologies. The mentioned above stakeholders can be part of academia, of startups, of high-tech companies, and also apply as natural persons or a team of natural persons. Next slide, please. So the objective of TruBlo Open Call 1 is to invite academic research teams, researchers, SMEs, and startups to define and implement a small-scale research project in one of the two focus areas that Antonis mentioned earlier in his presentation, which are trust and reputation models on blockchain and proof of validity and proof of location. Next slide, please. So how is the application and the open call structured? Basically, during the two first months, which were from January till end of March, the application is open for the teams to submit through F6S. And after that, we dedicate 2 months, which are April and May this year, for evaluation and selection of the successful applicants. For the first phase, which is the innovation stage of the open call, we will select up to 10 projects, which will enter into the 9-month innovation stage. And after that, based on certain requirements and excellence criteria, we will select 2 projects out of 10, which will continue within the progress phase. The progress phase also has a duration of 6 months. So the whole duration of the TruBlo program is 15 months, and it will end up with a demo day at the end of it. Next one. So to explain a bit more about the different stages, the innovation stage has, as I mentioned, 9 months. It starts at middle of June and it continues till March 2022. The funding for this stage is up to 75,000 euros. And the selected 10 teams for this stage will be developing their proposed TruBlo project in collaboration with their network, sector specialists and technology experts, by making use of the TruBlo blockchain infrastructure and supporting services if they want to. Also, the teams will work at their own facilities and occasionally participate in meetings, workshops, and trainings organized by the consortium. And what they have to deliver at the end and what we are expecting is, as a minimum deliverable, is a white paper describing their solution that they have proposed in the beginning, and also the impact it has in the next generation internet initiative and also on the media industry. And we are also welcoming scientific publications which are published in a prestigious open access journal with high impact rating. So out of these 10 projects, we will select 2 projects which will enter into the progress stage. The progress stage starts in March 2022. It has a duration of 6 months, and the maximum funding for this stage is up to 100,000 euros. In this stage, the teams will develop activities associated with the demonstration and piloting and also promotion of their project, building an MVP, to demonstrate it, and in order to engage with new customers, partners, and investors, because they will have the chance to do that at the end of the progress stage. Also, the teams will work remotely and also at their premises or with a potential pilot customer and participate in several meetings and events where they can promote their project goals and outcomes. And here we are expecting, as a result, also a white paper which is describing the evaluation and potential impact of their MVP based on their solution, and also to present the results from the demo day and from the other events where they participated. I'd like to highlight that in all stages, the selected teams will receive both technical and business support, and we will talk about these services in our next session. Next slide, please. So also on the type of teams and participants in the open calls, the funding varies. So here you can see an overview depending if you're a natural person, if you're a team of natural persons, meaning a group of people or researchers, and if you're a legal entity or a consortium of legal entities or any combination of legal entity and a natural person. So the maximum funding which is associated is when you have a legal entity participating in the project. Next slide, please. So what kind of applicants we are targeting for these calls? We are targeting internet technologists, researchers, and innovators, and also researchers and developers who are employed in research centers or enterprises, also SMEs, third-level education institutes, research infrastructures, non-profit organizations, and other charitable and scientific foundations. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, we have 3 kinds of eligible participants. So the natural persons, basically the natural person and all the team members, if it's a team of natural persons, have to be established in an eligible country, meaning that they have to have a residence permit from this country. So we are considering a residence permit, not the country of origin of the person. The legal entities, as I mentioned, it could be one or more, and also established in an eligible country. And by legal entities, we normally target universities, research centers, NGOs, foundations, micro, small, and medium enterprises. Large enterprises are also eligible to apply. And as I mentioned before, any combination of the above participants is also possible. Next one, please. So the eligible countries are basically the country of residence and the country of the establishment of this legal entity. I have included a link which I will send in the chat after I finish with my presentation, where you can see all the eligible countries. Basically, these are the regular EU member states, all the Horizon 2020 associated countries, also overseas countries and territories linked to the member states. And also to highlight that UK applicants are also eligible for this open call during the deadline of this open call, and to participate in the program as well. Next one, please. So I will talk a little bit about the evaluation and how the process is structured. So basically on 19th of March, at the end of the day, we will close the applications, and then we will perform an eligibility check with high-level criteria to see if the applicants fit with the above mentioned aspects that I mentioned to be established in a European or Horizon 2020 eligible country. And after the eligibility check, they will go through an evaluation process, which involves 2 external expert evaluators that will go through your application. Evaluations will be done until end of April. And basically, no matter if you are accepted or rejected, so you don't meet the criteria and the evaluation, you will be informed upon your progress. And during May, we will be signing the sub-grant agreements with the selected projects. And then in June, basically, you enter into the TruBlo program. Next one, please. So the evaluation process, as I mentioned, involves 2 external experts, which will evaluate each proposal. The main criteria we focus on is 3 different aspects. So excellent innovation, expected impact and value for money, and project implementation. The score you can get is from 1 to 5. And for each criteria, the minimum threshold is to get 3 out of 5 points in order to be considered eligible for further evaluation. Next one, please. So also in the case of submission of proposals, which are twice as many as the number of expected projects and also are eligible for the funding, you will be invited to participate in a remote interview where teams are expected to pitch and explain their project and answer to the reviewers' questions. The aim here is to really filter and select the top-ranked proposals coming out of the remote interview in order to indicate the 10 projects that need to enter into the TruBlo program. And as I mentioned, each applicant will receive via email a letter informing of the decision, whether a rejection or an invitation to proceed with the upcoming steps in the program. Next one, please. So the application is done only through the F6S application page, which is f6s.com/TruBlo/opencall/apply. The link is also available on the TruBlo official website when you go to the open call section. Next one, please. So basically, as I said, it's done only through the F6S platform. We don't accept any application per email or through any other media channel. Basically, the application form consists of administrative questions which need to be completed directly on the F6S application form. and a proposal description that needs to be downloaded in a Word format from the TruBlo website. It's already available there, and you have to fill it in. It has certain amount of pages, and then you have to upload it in the F6S application platform in a PDF format. The proposal description template is quite standard. It includes the following sections. You need to include a project summary. You have to provide a background of your organization. Then you have to provide a description of the concept and breakthrough, the ambition and impact, your strategy and milestones, and you also have to fill in an ethical security checklist. Also, for any open call and any application related questions, you can always send an email to info@trublo.eu. That's our official communication email for the project. And also on the F6S application page, you have a discussion forum where you can post already comments and engage with other applicants, or if you'd like to address any questions directly to me or other TruBlo consortium members. Next one, please. Okay, thank you very much. So this was briefly about the application. I'll be happy to answer questions now or after we end up with the whole presentations.
I think because the questions are very close to what you were talking about, if everybody agrees, we answer them now, because then it's easier to connect. And if we have a longer discussion, we can move it to the Q&A session. Shall I read some of the questions to you, Violeta?
Yes, please.
And it's a bit easier. I looked through them while you were talking. The first question is from Tarek. We would like to apply to the TruBlo open call number 1, and we would like to know if there are any recommendations regarding the number of participants and the number of represented countries.
So we don't have any limit imposing on the consortium or the number of team members. In the application form on F6S, you have a section for 3 people to include their details, but also we have a separate template, which is also available on the website, where you can download it, include information of the other participants that you'd like to involve in your team, and then you have to upload it on the F6S application page. So we don't limit the number, but you have to keep in mind that the budget stays the same because we found the project, not the team members separately. So this is something just to highlight for you. But in other case, we don't have limit on countries or participants.
Yeah, I would like, thank you very much. I would like to add for everyone, depends on the idea. I think a too large consortium is not technically needed in any way. It should fit the purpose. If your idea is in a good way challenged through this process, through the application, and moves forward, and the team is working together, it can be a little bit larger consortium, but otherwise potentially keep it small in order to be productive. So it's a little bit up to you. The answer is the clear answer is it depends. But I think you know what I mean. So there was another.
I just sent, I think, no, I just sent the link, but not to the whole chat. Eligible content.
I already published it while you were talking for everyone. So there was another question. If there is an overlap synergy among the projects, could they collaborate or even merge?
Well, this is a very tricky question because basically this is something we need to see once the program starts, because we will evaluate different projects individually. So we won't evaluate them if they fit with another project or something. But depending on the evaluation results and also how many proposals we get for the different topics, we will think if something like this could be feasible. But this is something that we need to discuss based on the type of applications regarding the topics and also the number of applications for each topic.
Yeah, this is an assumption, but my point of view is, as the minimal requirement is something like a white paper, this should be kept as such, and then potentially after being part of TruBlo can merge into other ways, or as a prototype, or whatever has been the outcome. So maybe a separation is more feasible. Doesn't need to be like 100% rule, but potentially is the better way to move forward. So there is a question from Elena. Can a research stage potentially be shorter than 9 months? As we are already half through our R&D, we would like to move to the implementation stage faster. Is it worth applying in this case?
Well, if you are having a research project that hasn't been already published, or is not an official research, let's put it like hasn't been made into a commercial product or something, I mean, it can, you just have to really provide in your application form regarding the stage where you are, what you will need to do, because in order to go to the final stage, the implementation stage of the project, you have to go through the first phase, which is basically where you have to, you know, develop your research. So it could be shorter than 9 months. You just have to provide all the information regarding, you know, in what time frame you can do this, and also see in terms of deliverables, which deliverables you will be able to provide, because we have certain deliverables for each stage, and you have to see which ones could be provided by you in this case.
There's another, thank you very much. There's another quite legal question. I have a VAT number and 2 employees, but I'm a personal company, in brackets, which probably means I'm a freelancer with employees and not a real capital company or people company. Am I a natural person or a legal entity for this TruBlo call?
So do you have a VIT number, I would ask? So if you register, does he has like a VIT number? So like
yes. There's a...
Well, it depends. I mean, this is something I have to kind of double check, because it could be a bit tricky. I mean, you can always apply as a natural person if you want, as a team of natural persons, but if you want to apply as a legal entity, I have to double check exactly how it is for freelancers.
Maybe
so if you provide now an address, we can come back to you with more details.
Yes. So we would ask Mirko, who asked this question, to send us an email to info@trublo.eu, and we can cover it. I am familiar with similar structures of company structures from Germany. When I started, I had a same type of company, like not a GmbH or limited. There are certain things that need to be considered. For example, if people are working together, even in a not limited for a long time, they are forming a company legally and potentially are eligible to tax paying and stuff like that. And so, as you said, potentially it's advisable to apply as a natural person and push forward the idea, right?
Yes.
Potentially. With some carefulness answered. So I think, oh, there are more questions. Which is the required TRL or IRL associated with the white paper in the first project? I'm not entirely sure. We had that question in email. I would ask that to specify what TRL and IRL means in this context. Right?
Yes, because I mean, the first part is basically what you proposed as a solution to further develop it. So we don't expect already, we don't have a limit basically yet. So yeah, you should specify what you mean in TRL or IRL.
Yeah, here's an important question. Sorry for taking so long, but I think we should answer 2 more and then we move on with a support question so that people have a chance to digest and listen a bit more, and then we move to the Q&A later. Is the funding taxable income for natural persons or legal entities?
So if they're taxed over this income.
Yes, is the funding taxable income?
Well, it's a grant, so I assume it won't be, but let's check also this, because this is a bit of a legal matter, so we have to double check also with our legal consultants. But it's a grant, the funding is provided in a grant format.
So one last question before we move on. Expected results include a full research and innovation proposal. Does it refer to the proposal we need to submit for the selection? I would guess that the description of the project is one part, but then a more formal description and hardened exploration in a more scientific, more technical, more business way is what the outcome is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, with this very short answer, we move on. I would ask our colleagues from Alastria to get ready. So Montse and Carlos, please tell us a little bit about what Alastria can do in this project.
Thank you very much, Mirko. And I will start, we will start just telling you that this is an amazing program. I will ask everyone to just apply, because it's the first time that we are going to use a very disruptive technology, and there is two benefits, not to learn about the technology and to learn it for a very use case that is relevant for all of us internationally. So just let's talk, Carlos and myself, about why we are talking about this DLT blockchain, what that means. And the first thing is that it's a big change. And the change is not in the technical architecture itself, but it's going to be in the use of this technical architecture. So we are right now, everything that we are sharing within internet, within our apps and our websites, everything we are sharing goes to a center, where this center is processing this data and preparing this data and sending to the other counterpart in a communication. You see, there is a limitation when something is centralized, and also potentially could be having some mistaking or some manipulation. Right now, we change that. We have an architecture that is in a mesh, and what this means is that everybody who is in this network is connected to each other, and we call nodes. So all these points you see in this frame, in this architecture, will have the same information, and will have at the same time this information, and we will and between them they will decide with the business rules that we apply how that information will be used. So if I go to the next slide, I will say that this is one of the advantage of this distributed ledger technology or blockchain. So blocks in a chain, this is the way all the algorithms are working, and that is the decentralization. This is one of the benefits. The other benefits is that having all the information around with several nodes give a lot of resilience. If we lose one node, all the others has the information, but it's not that they know the information, they keep the information encrypted, and this is about security. So from the very beginning that we are sending something is encrypted, is coded, and only the ones who knows the codes, how to disencrypt, is going to have the opportunity to have this information. So we are making our communications in internet more reliable, more secure, and on top of that, immutable. Why? Because with this technology, once you read something, it's like a tattoo in your skin. It's there, and it's going to be very difficult to remove it. And that will help us to really be very trustable and to have a confidence on what we are sending. So taking into account this type, these features of this technology, of the use of this technology, we have an abundance of ideas that we want you to come to us. Please come with your idea, because we are here to help you to implement it in this technology. If we go to the next slide, and we will talk about that. So who we are Alastria. Alastria is an association, a non-profit association, and we have a clear vision and vision. And this program, TruBlo, goes perfectly aligned with our mission. And we want that these decentralized technologies, blockchain, is used to give access to everyone, to have, to prompt the ideas of everyone in a more clear way, to make it more trustable. So we have been working as an association right now, founded in 2017, and we are right now 500, more than 500 partners and members of this association that are making different types of network to be able or to facilitate these new ideas. So we are a pioneer project, as Mirko was saying. We hope so to be a unicorn in terms of ideas, but what we do is enabling these ideas to become reality. So if I go to the next slide, I will explain how we make it happen. We make it happen with this type of projects, with TruBlo. We join the members that are companies, enterprises, with the academia, because without the research, this technology is not taken further. And also with the public administration or governments. Right now we are here from multiple countries of Europe, and what we want is that, as Carlos will explain you, becomes a normalized use of this technology around all Europe. So if I go to the next slide, just to tell you, we are in all, not just Europe, but also all the world, talking about that, we have a new IT, we have a new way of exchanging information, we have a new way of telecommunicating in a more trustable and very clear, more efficient way. And that is there. This is innovation by technological push. So what we are asking you is to apply to the project, to come with your ideas, so we help you to put it in place. So if I go to the next slide, because this new type of internet is completely global. So these are right now the members, 546, that are trusting on this technology, and you will be becoming part of them. So if I go to the next one, some of you may be already members. And if you are already members, you know that we work in this. We work in understanding the technology, understanding the infrastructure, understanding the communication on top of this infrastructure, and facilitating all members to create their business cases and their use cases. And we need researchers. This is why we are in this program. So if I go to the next slide, we talk about that. When we talk about blockchain or DLTs, you may not know yet, but there is 3 types of approaching. The first one is the classical one when it was born, and it's called the public blockchain. It's a network where all these nodes you have been in the mesh are unknown. It's everyone who wants to participate has the opportunity. And we like this type of public anonymous networks. But we have another way of also doing blockchain, is in a private way with few nodes. Okay, Alastria is in the middle. The infrastructure we will bring to you and help you to understand is something that is not anonymous, because we have members there, and the members, we know what are the companies and what are the governments and what are the universities that are using this network. What it gives us, 2 things. One thing is you are in a test bed that is really reliable, in the sense of we know that what if something happens, how we can help you. And in the second hand, we are just giving a lot of visibility to the project you are going to test in this network. So this is about public permissioned, and there is really the highlights are the availability and the number of transactions. So if I go to the next slide, I will tell you, and I will let Carlos to tell you about, once you have this infrastructure, once you have your idea, we also support you in another change of paradigm. And this change of paradigm is the digital identity. So Carlos, please.
Thank you very much, Montse. Yes, I will briefly introduce the concept of the SSI identity, because I think that could be of help from, at least for some of the projects that you are going to present, and we can provide you the infrastructure to use that identity over the Alastria. First of all, to start with, currently your data usually is spread over many web providers, with many service providers just get your data, and then you lose completely like the control over that data. Please click next slide. Then what we want is to change that to a situation where the data is again under the control of the user. So the user can give that data for a given purpose to a service provider, for renting a car, for doing anything, and that information is then can be recovered by the user as easy as it has been shared. So next slide. Yes, going in the direction that President von der Leyen said, that we need an identity solution, a European identity solution where the user can keep the control over the data, because the data is really from the user and should be controlled by the user, and that can be used for anything from renting a bicycle, a bike, to paying your taxes. So from the most trivial thing to the most important thing that you do, the official thing that you do. And I will add to that that it could also be used in order to give some control, some trust to the information that is published on the social networks, and the information, and to give some trackability at the same time that we can keep the anonymity, but trackability when it's required in the sharing of information over the social networks. Go ahead. Next slide, please. Yeah. So this in Alastria we have developed and defined a complete identity solution that we can Alastria ID, that is a real model that is implemented over Alastria network and is available for to you for the project. And this Alastria model that is a concrete implementation of the idea of SSI has been contributed to the Spanish standard organization that is called AENOR, and has been approved as an official standard in December. And this standard is also contributed to the SENSELEC in order to provide a European standard. And then on the other side, Alastria ID has also contributed to the European blockchain partnership, that is the grouping of all the member states in order to push and to give support to blockchain solution that has is in the process of deploying a blockchain infrastructure that unfortunately is not ready right now and that cannot be used for that project. And on top of that blockchain is going to deploy also a solution that is called a SIF, that is very close to Alastria ID. So the effort that you invest in using Alastria ID can be in the future be reused to deploy any service of FC and using a SIF protocol. And Alastria ID is already being used by several projects that you have here. So it's a real thing that you can use right now, and we can support you to use that. On top of that Alastria ID, that is mainly to give some information about you, about who you are, who you can do, and who and what you can do, and what you are allowed to do. For example, it can be go to the next slide, please. I think that there is. Oh well. Anyway, I thought that there is another one, but anyway, you can get credentials, you can get information about you that you can share with other people, and it's very similar to one of the schemas that appear in one of the previous presentation, where the trust over what a person is shared by that person that is trusted in order to prove something about their reputation or any other type of thing. So it's a natural extension, it's a natural part of what we consider right now to be identity on the internet. It's not just identification, not just your name and your national identifier and so on, but it's also who you are, what do you like, if you are a tennis player or you are a trustable person, and your reputation on social network can be part of your digital identity.
Thank you very much, both to Montse and Carlos. Maybe I can discuss with you briefly a question that was asked. It is about these acronyms, and the participant thankfully has clarified what he meant. IRL as investment readiness level and TRL as technology readiness level. And of course, that's always nice if projects are that close to being easy to understand, easy to fund, and easy to deploy. What is your experience so far? To what extent are companies using blockchain, like insurances or banks, for promoting their business? And to what extent are you working with early stage ideas to develop the infrastructure? I think it's both, right?
Yeah.
Can you
Yes,
talk?
in fact, yes. If you, I don't know if you want to answer, Carlos, but just to say is we are right now in an infrastructure that is up and running, no? So already has use cases, and they are already business use cases. So already is relevance there what we have. So the next step, or the step we are doing, is the same, no? Is with universities that has just an idea, no? Is how to implement this idea. This is an infrastructure that can help. We can help to just make the transition between an idea to something that is technically viable. And this is what we are interested, no? That to show how this technology is not difficult, is easy to learn. And also, if there is some project already been done in a public blockchain or something that has already some tests there, also to help them to structure in a legal framework. And this is a little bit why it's so important. It's not just that technically speaking it works, but also to understand that it should work in a framework in Europe that has a legal requirements in privacy, in data protection, and this is how it works in Alastria. No, we not just look after technical viability, but also in a overall viability, looking after. We have a framework that is in Europe that is very clear and that has been working on in these years. This is why, Carlos, I don't know if you want to add, this is why we are so present as Alastria in the European organizations around blockchain.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
I will add that all the projects, for example, this Alastria Identity project is based on regulation, and so it should not just comply with GDPR, but help to comply with. That is more. It's not just a question of just compliance, but helping the user to exercise, for example, the right to erase, to suppress data. And it could be there are around I think that 40 use cases deployed over Alastria network, and there are also some other use cases that are moving from POC to minimum viable product. So they are going to be deployed, some of them using this Alastria in order to provide, for example, to Spanish citizen a way to use that in front of the biggest companies in Spain. There are more than 10 companies that have joined together in order to provide such a solution to their users that account for millions of users in Spain. And this can be extended and can be used by those projects. So they don't need to focus on the blockchain infrastructure. We can help them to figure out how to realize that in terms of blockchain, how to, for example, ensure that actions over a given information is tracked, can be put digital evidences on the blockchain, so it can be proved that it has been sent at that date by somebody and to somebody that has received and approved and modified and then published, and then all the actions can be written on the blockchain, but without nobody being able to understand that information, to interpret that information, but the people that has access to the real information, for example. So it can be, it's a sort of insurance that I can show that I contribute, for example, that information, but only if it is required to show that. So it's anonymous until I need to prove it in front of, I don't know, somebody to pay me, or a judge, or for applying for a grant or whatever. So it's a mix of anonymization and using anonymous information that can be revealed when you need it to show what happened.
Thank you very much. Actually, my framing to it is, if you look into the early days of Google, you will see that the founders of Google actually were real scientists. They really wrote papers about how they could apply algorithms to searching everything and so on. So I think here we frame it at the early stages, which of course can become something really big, but we provide an opportunity to first provide funding for an early stage, for 1 or 2 or 3 persons describing their approach, and then potentially moving to an MVP and so on and so on. So that is basically the expectation. If things go really well, well, good for you, but potentially beyond TruBlo then, but we are happy to support. So Anna, we are very sorry for keeping you waiting so long. You want to give us a brief overview over the additional services, because that's fitting now. For the technical business and support services. Your role with ATC is a little bit mixed. It's more on the business side, but you have a technical view as well. Anna, please.
Thank you, Mirko, very much for the introduction. So indeed, the aim of this presentation is to provide you with an overview of the additional services and support that we can offer to the winning teams in order to enhance innovation. So the main idea behind this is to provide all the technical and business support that somebody needs, because the technical is important, but also the business is important in order practically to bring any vision to life and achieve the maximum. So the objective behind this is, first of all, to enhance business knowledge and capacity of the teams towards the market uptake of their developed solutions and applications, support the winning teams throughout the research and development activities by provide all the necessary infrastructure and guidance, support the winning teams to effectively and efficiently present their developed solutions to the targeted stakeholders, and of course provide this link between the teams and the stakeholders and the media ecosystem and community as a whole. So next slide, please. Thank you. So we offer 3 different types of services: technical support services, business and innovation support services, technical knowledge support and training services. Next slide. Starting with the first one, which is actually the technical support. This has been already presented by Alastria colleagues and the previous speakers. The idea here is to provide the technical and the pilot testing infrastructure for all the winning teams to develop and pilot test their blockchain applications. So starting from the TruBlo blockchain infrastructure, which is actually provided by Alastria as a platform as a service, and then we move into the European Observatory Against Disinformation verification platform in order actually to provide a pilot test environment for your applications over real life scenarios by the large, that is actually, this observatory is utilized by a large community of end users that can actually provide all the necessary feedback to you. So this will be achieved by providing 2 different types of support here from our side. Initially, to provide you with a set of concrete technical requirements, and secondly, to provide all the technical assistance in order to ensure that your solution can be easily integrated and tested while meeting the user needs and technical requirements of the observatory. So the idea is ongoing, continuous technical supported guidance as much as the teams are needed. Next slide, please. Then the second, let's say, type of support we are aiming to offer you is business and innovation. This idea here is actually to provide to the winning applicants, any commercial support in order to ensure that their results will be commercially will meet market needs first of all, and will be actually ensure the uptake of the commercial will be uptaken by of their innovative applications. So the idea here is to provide, let's say, to give you what we call the innovation vouchers, that actually based on this voucher you can select a type of service, business service, which I will give you some more information in the next slide. The second thing that we are planning to do is to organize 3 different types of webinars, 3 webinars, 1 per call. The idea here is to cover a number of business-related topics, such as marketing analysis, business planning, marketing, sales, valuation, pitching. All these topics will be further discussed and defined based on your requirements. And of course, these webinars will be offered to all the successful applicants. Now, the services that you can see are also presented in the table. We start this kind of innovation feedback and fine-tuning service. Here, the TruBlo team aims actually to provide a thorough review and feedback on the applicant solutions, both from the technological but also on the business angle, in order to refine the concepts for better addressing current market needs and trends. Innovation brokering service. TruBlo aims to connect the different teams and entities working on similar or complementary technological fields in order to collaborate and therefore add value to their outcomes and products. Innovation funding, as well as business modeling and planning support. These 2 types of services are planned for the second stage. However, the aim here from our side is, first of all, to identify alternative European funding sources that could be utilized for taking the innovation to the market. And into this direction, we aim to provide you with guidelines, tips, any kind of feedback before you prepare your application, as well as business modeling and planning support, meaning that we aim to provide the relevant guidelines, tools, support to the applicants on how to develop and choose the right business model and how actually to draft and present a solid business plan. Similarly, awareness raising services will be provided. All beneficiaries of TruBlo funding will be given the option to fully actually exploit TruBlo's communication and dissemination channels in order to promote the applications, the prototypes in a wide network of actors. Okay, the idea, as I said before, it's to provide any kind of technical knowledge support and training. So here, we aim to provide you with the support, the necessary technical support to all the participants by answering the technical questions and provide the scientific content and advice on demand. We are planning to have training sessions and mentoring sessions. The idea behind this is to enrich the technical skills of all the participants and equip the teams with the necessary background and baseline knowledge to support innovation by providing links to all the necessary training materials and training toolkits. This will be achieved through the organization of self-paced courses, e-classes, in which the participants will be able to interact lively and with each other by sharing questions, experiences, and solutions, coaching and mentoring sessions. Can you hear me?
Yes,
okay.
Works
right.
fine.
And then finally, we have the technical coordination support in order to ensure that the thematic and the technical, there is thematic and technical coherence and of course coordination of these third-party projects. This is it for the services that we are planning to offer. I apologize for the short technical problem.
No worries. No worries.
I'm open for any question or any clarification that you might need. Thank you.
So to everyone who is listening, apologies a little bit for taking like 10 minutes more, but we started a little bit later. But I understand we all have not only webinars and video conferences, because we are all stricken with too many video conferences, but very much thank to everyone from the project of providing this overview. And I do hope for the listeners and the scope of TruBlo became a little bit clearer. In essence, like we said, like the early days of Google, we try to provide a starting ramp. Yeah, it's not so much for projects that are entirely developed, but you need to kind of work with this opportunity. That's what we are saying. If you have a company that is already technically working, what could be a component that should be added? What could be a project in the scope of what we were talking about? Something that applies to content, that applies to trust, that applies to use of blockchain. These are the parameters that we're looking for. But I give you an example that I found recently while writing the blog for TruBlo. There's a UK company which is helping to have trusted media capture. They are using this little software that they wrote to apply to a camera on an iPhone or Android. And when you take a photo, it adds verifiable data points. For example, it detects whether the photo is just a screenshot that you made with your computer and then doctored, or whether it has been taken in a 3D environment, meaning outside. Like when you're reporting about a demonstration somewhere, is that a photo that is viably taken there? And we asked them whether they would be using blockchain, and they said, no, not particularly in our project, but of course we can write the results into a blockchain that it would be helpful. So I'm providing this example just to provide ideas and approaches. And we are here for you. I hope that became clear today, to help. This is not like a bank, waiting for an application by an entrepreneur, and then we look at it and we want some security. We want good ideas and help to develop these ideas. I think with Carlos and Montse describing Alastria and Anna, and of course F6S, that becomes quite clear. So let me briefly look into some of the questions. There was one which I would like to answer. There's one from Daniela from, it's a bit difficult to read everything here. I think it's a question for Violeta. In Annex 2, the information about the indicative budget is suggested as the indicative distribution of funds. Anyway, the following aspects are not clear. Which are the categories of eligible costs? Do we have indirect expenses? And let's take it there. How do you claim costs, which is applicable? Violeta, can you give an indication?
Yes, let me see the document actually. I don't see the question, so.
I'm sorry.
Just listen. No, that's fine.
No, it should be visible in questions. But that's what shall I reread it to you, or shall we move it to a later stage and ask the participant to send us an email? Is that better?
Yes, I think because probably we need to compile the information about the eligible costs, so we can also include it in the FAQ section for everyone. Okay. So it's better to send an email so we can follow this up.
Yeah, but basically it's intended for personal costs with a little part of indirect costs. If some of the organization, like the organization I work for, Deutsche Welle, has a certain setting of numbers that it applies, which we arrived at by being consulted by auditors. So we can assist with that, but it's a little bit difficult. I hope it's understandable to answer it for everyone in just one sentence. So. But there were not that many more questions. There was one from somebody from India who will be in Mexico and asked whether he would be eligible for this project. I would argue, or I would suspect no. Right?
We checked in the countries, but I believe Mexico is not part of it.
Okay.
No, I don't see Mexico as it's in the link that probably Mirko sent in the chat. So yeah, Mexico is not part of it.
Okay. There's one important question from Eugen. A project proposal is expected and can address just one of the two use cases, or does it have to describe both use cases?
Just one.
Yeah. There can be a mix, of course, but I think by having two separate areas, I'm looking at Antonis, we kind of invite to move into problem solving from two angles and focus on one of the angles, right?
Yes, that would be expected, but anyhow, I mean, as already said, the topics are just for inspiring, you know, it's the big context, and we try to somehow streamline the research through these two challenges. But of course, you are free to suggest your own as long as it is based on specific technology assets and tries to solve specific problems, for instance, from the media and social networks perspective.
Okay, so I'm looking at the time, and I fear that if we don't have a little bit of time boxing, you know, we're doing a disservice to many people who on this Friday have to do other work. I think the closing message is this one. In the next 3 weeks until the deadline, we are here for you to support. So please use the channels to communicate with us. The foremost is info@trublo.eu. It's an email. You can find it on the website. On the website, we try to answer as many questions which were asked in public. So interact with us. Let us help you getting to a good application. I think that's the key message. And very much thankful for everyone from the project of being present today and describing the goals. To Anna, Montse, Antonis, Violeta, Tony, and of course Carlos. I would close then if there is no objection.